Whoops.
And we're live. Hello, everybody. This is Rose Chastain. I'm one of the co-founders of Your Natural Healthcare. And today with me, I am lucky enough to have Katherine. Hi.
Hi, Rose. It's so nice to be here.
It is so nice to be with you. And I really appreciate you being willing to take the time for this interview and really for your commitment to people's peace and peace of mind. And before I jump in and I'm going to introduce you, I want to say today's call or today's interview, we are doing in honor of Katherine's mother, who passed away at noon today. How many years ago?
24 years ago.
24 years ago. So what's your mother's name?
Juanita.
Juanita, we're lighting a candle for you. So I invite everyone who's listening to this interview or the video or the live stream who has loved ones that they've lost. This particular interview and conversation we are doing in honor of you. So I invite everyone to light a candle, say a prayer.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Thank you for celebrating your mother in this fashion and having it make a difference. It's really incredible. So I want to start by introducing you. And not everyone has had the opportunity to know you. So normally I would do more talking about somebody, but I want to actually read what Katherine has on her website, which, by the way, Katherine's website is Katherine Robertson, I had to pronounce that correctly, .com. And you can see some of the extraordinary work that she's doing. And Katherine is a creative life strategist, an author, and a speaker. She's the author of The Creative Wheel, which is one of her very powerful tools that she uses to work with her clients. So here's what I wanted to read. And this is just a piece of your website that's about you. It says, I was born in Houston, Texas in 1956, the only child of a respected child psychiatrist and a lovable self-made man. I was a curious girl, but I learned to play it safe. I lived my early life conforming to the straight and narrow world around me. I excelled in the best schools, but without encouragement to know what I knew, feel what I felt, or want what I wanted. I knew there was more to living and dying than the comfort of what I thought I knew. I had to move 1,000 miles away from my studies in Chicago to hear my own voice. With degrees in psychology and communications, I began to blend my compassion for the human condition with my craving for creativity, and made my way in the creative world to become an award-winning writer, producer in television and film. But even as I was winning awards, I was confronting the personal challenges inherent in doing what you're not sure you can do. So I began deepening my inner life as well. I have worked very hard with the expert guidance of teachers, coaches, and mentors to learn to honor my own experience of the world and the work I'm here to do. Life is a journey of becoming, and nothing is wasted. I just love that. I know it might be kind of weird for me to read your own words back to you, but I love that you create that life is a journey. And so many people who are healers or coaches, they have this particular view that they have an answer versus that it's a journey. And I know for you, one of the things I love about you is that you're on the journey with the people that you're working with. And so many of us in this uncertain times are dealing with what's the future hold? What am I going to do? What's right for me? Should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
All of these questions and concerns that are coming up for people. And I know that you have been on a journey to find your own voice. And can you tell us what that pathway is like and what lessons you've learned?
Yeah. Thank you, Rose. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, the journey for me, I think, and for all of us, it starts the day that we're born. And it is kind of a trite, life is a journey, not a destination, but we still believe it's a destination. But for me, as a writer producer in Los Angeles in the 90s, really, I was working with the hero's journey, this archetypal storyline arc that we use in telling stories. And I really began to identify, this is my life. This is what's happening for me. And I started to see, and it's a sort of a method that you use in writing and filmmaking. There's certain stages to this journey, and I began to identify those in my life, and that work really evolved into what I call the wheel of creativity, in which I divide the life journey, or the journey really of creating any project. It's the same process, into 12 stations. And for me, so I wrote my first story at 6. My first story was published when I was 6 years old. And I have the book up there on my shelf. And, you know, but I was 50 before I really began to know what I have to say.
Mm.
And that discovery, it's not like you're seeking it and you're going to find it. It's a combination of your life experiences, what you live, your self-awareness, so your ability to see yourself at the center of those experiences rather than the victim of them. And then your courage to take that raw material that your life gives you and create consciously with it. And as I see it, this is a journey of body, mind, spirit, and heart. It is a holistic journey. I saw you use that word in describing these interviews. And the journey of life is really about reintegrating things that get fragmented in us, from us, through trauma, through, you know, disappointment, through learning to conform to those external standards that we're given. And it's a journey to know yourself more and more deeply, more authentically, and then to honor what you know in your actions in the world. And this is what I call the active and receptive principles. It's yin and yang, it's the masculine and feminine, but it's the principle of acting in the world, which we're all really good at these days. But it's also receiving, making space for yourself in your life to hear what is inside you and what life wants to create through you.
Mm.
There's a poem I wanted to read. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
It's a short one. It's Mary Oliver. I love this poem and I use it in a lot of my work. It's called The Journey, appropriately. And here's what she says. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through sheets of clouds. And there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. And that is maybe a bit on the heavy side, but you know, at the age of 64 now, I am still learning every day, still needing to practice the courage to set aside all those things I thought I knew about myself and what my life was supposed to look like in the service of becoming.
Wow. It's so inspiring. It's like there's something, I'm going to say simplifying about relating to yourself in your life like you're on a journey. You know, I have had many things in my life that I'm very attached to, that I really love. And, you know, the heartbreak when things don't go the way they're supposed to. You know, the supposed to, right? And being able to find your own voice and your own balance in the middle of that journey, it's so powerful. So powerful.
It's crucial, really.
Yeah.
And we all experience that, you know, every one of us. The older I get, the more I realize we don't really get through life without disappointment.
Mm.
It's a part of what makes the soil that our life has to grow through.
That reminds me, I'm having flashbacks to being a young girl and my mother telling me, life's not fair, Rose.
Mm,
You know?
those mothers.
Oh, but you don't get through life without disappointments. And it's, you know, I was told a long time ago by someone I greatly respected that part of my job in the planet was to have my heart broken.
Mhm.
And that if that was happening, then I would be living in the world with my heart open.
Oh,
And that was my job. So, you know, that those words sort of echo in my mind often, and it actually allows me to have some space to
mhm.
feel or be with whatever it is that I'm feeling. Right?
Absolutely.
So I wanted
It's
to
really, let me just say one thing, sorry, but I had a similar thing where somebody said to me, your job right now is to mourn. If you do your job, everything will be taken care of.
oh,
And very similar to what you said, but it really opens you up to an experience of life that is surprising. And, you know, and I also really believe that the grief, which we are all in a collective grief right now, and the sadness that we feel, like it excavates a space for joy in our lives and in ourselves. So
I love that.
that's your heart open you're talking about.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Mm,
Thank you for that. That's really good.
mm.
I'm going to change the subject just a little bit before I cry. Which again, if I did, maybe that would allow some space and freedom for other people to feel their experiences. But
I'll back off.
don't ever back off. You be you. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is you talk a lot about creativity and finding your path.
Mhm.
And can you tell us like five tools you use to accomplish that, or just a few tools?
Yeah.
That is, because for so many others, like, let's see, I have creativity, collages, painting, actually rearranging rooms,
Yeah.
redecorating, all of this, gardening, unlocks a part of myself every time I express myself creatively in that. And I don't always have easy access to that. Like I'm either on a mission to produce something or some version of that, right?
Yeah.
So could you say just a few tools that would give people access to creativity?
Mm. Yeah. Well, first of all, I see creativity very differently than most people. So I'll start by saying creativity is not art. I really see it as the world's greatest natural resource.
Mm.
That it is life. Life, I mean, it's spring outside now for most of us. I don't know if you've got people in the Southern Hemisphere, but it's spring here. And all you have to do is look around and see how creative life is. Everything is popping up and turning green and colorful, and the birds are nesting. And
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is engaged in the creative process right now. And you know, the core of my work is that you are one of its creators, that everybody on this call is one of life's creators. Life uses us to create. And so every idea you have, and I would say even every problem that you face, is life planting a seed in you that it wants you to give birth to.
Mm.
Any entrepreneur and any artist will tell you for sure, this is not easy, but there are cycles in that process that can be mastered. So some of the tools that I have used are really basic and simple. And I could call them see, believe, plan, do, and belong. And what I mean by that, so in terms of seeing, this is about self-awareness. This is about seeing yourself at the center of your life as a creator. And that, as I said earlier, the life gives you raw materials, and what you do with them is up to you. But you have to give yourself space and time to pay attention to what is in there. Where is your longing? You know, everything that gets created starts with what I call a hunger. Something is missing and something is wrong. Maybe you lost something, maybe somebody left you, maybe we have a global pandemic, but that creates a space, and your job is simply to pay attention to what you're longing for, what that hunger is for within you. When I say believe, I mean do whatever you have to do to believe in yourself. I'm working right now on a program for my mastermind group on doubt and self-doubt. And doubt has value because you can't just, you know, say yes to everything. It's important to engage in self-inquiry, to have people in your life who serve as clear witness for you, where you feel supported, somebody without an agenda or a stake for your life, you know, who can really listen and witness back, reflect back to you who you truly are. When I say plan, I'm talking about a system that takes you through the process of creation. So from that first idea, sometimes people, you know, they get it to a certain point and then they want it to make money. Let's monetize this thing. Anybody relate to that? I certainly do. But that can short.
Many of clients that we work with that's the way they are. This is like, okay, I've got a plan now. Where's the clients?
Yes, I mean, and I see it's a bit like asking, you know, your baby is born and you want it to defend the case. You want it to stand in court and be ready to defend the case. It's like, give it a little bit of time. But there's a system that you can use, you know, for that, and there's many of them out there, but I recommend having a system that walks you through step by step so you don't jump over a part that's really essential. Because I think each idea kind of has a soul, and it comes to you and it says, will you take me on? Will you see me through? So it's not just my force of will, what I want it to be, but it's also engaging to ask that thing, what is its purpose? What is it here to do? And why me? And then you obviously have to take action. So you need structures in place. This could be setting aside an hour at the start of every day for getting work done on your book, if you want to write a book or whatever your creative project is. And it could also be kind of group programs that really support you to show up in a finite period of time, do the work. And then the last thing is belong. And this is just a non-judgmental community of people who are also engaged in living life like from the inside out, who are authentic and committed. And you know, I see it in my online community that as time goes by, trust develops and people blossom in ways they couldn't have done on their own.
Because they're in that environment. So that is so powerful. Now you are running several masterminds, and then you have this cool thing that you do, a virtual studio day. Love that. And that really is people who are creators being in a community, right?
Yeah. And it's a very finite, turbocharged, like people come in. I've one guy who's a musician who's using it to develop a virtual concert series. And then I have another woman who's doing a software program. So it can be anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's killer. Now, people, if they want to find out more about what you do, they go to your website, right? And they can reach and schedule you.
And the website that has all the information about the courses, as well as my blog and everything, is wheelofcreativity.com. Wheelofcreativity.com.
Okay. All right. So next topic, and you know, this might risk both of us crying again, but that's okay. That's the process right now. But you know, as I said, we're having this call at the time of your mother's passing, and we said that we would make this available to honor her. And one of the things that I love about what you wrote in sort of telling the story of your journey is you write that, and when I read this, it made me cry. Reading your website made me cry. You said that on your mother's deathbed, she said, I never got my turn. I'm going to read this. I never got my turn, and my heart split in two. This is you speaking. My heart split in two. How could such an influential woman who has helped so many people have failed herself? And I wanted to know, what lessons do you have for us so that we never fail ourselves? Because we, the moment I read that, I have this sort of lump in my throat of like, am I failing myself? Or, am I being true to my full capacity? Mostly the answer was no, not my full capacity. No, not yet. So what can you say to us to save us from failing ourselves here?
Oh, well, my mother was a very successful woman. She grew up as a child of a sharecropper in the Dust Bowl in Texas.
Wow.
And I've been thinking about her because of the pandemic. She was 2 in 1918. And her mother had the Spanish flu and got influenzaal encephalitis, became very ill, had to learn to walk again. And what I have seen over time with my mom, she was extremely giving. She took care of the community. Yeah. But she was so driven. And I have come to see, I've been thinking a lot about grief lately. And how much a part of life it is. But if we don't process it properly, it drives us in reaction. And so my mom wanted to be a writer, and instead she became a doctor and a psychiatrist, in part in response to what happened to her mother after all of this, which was that she was diagnosed as schizophrenic. She was institutionalized. She went through a horrendous series of events to deal with that, and so my mom lived her life kind of in reaction and never fully gave herself permission to grieve what, that sense of security that we all need in life. Yeah. And our future, what we create with our lives, depends on our ability to do that and how we respond. So my things that I want to share with you about this have to do with that, because I think right now we are all a bit frozen, a bit deer in the headlights, grieving what we knew is normal. And it's a huge opportunity for us to take stock and say, what do I want next? But in order to do that, there are 5 lessons that I would share. One is give this time. So take a deep breath, accept whatever you're feeling, whatever your mind, body, spirit, and heart are trying to do right now is make sense of something none of us have ever experienced before, and it's all okay. The other thing is, if life is a journey, then it's a process. So I see life and creativity as a process. And so my suggestion is to respect that process. Know that you're going through one, that you are not in charge of the timing of things. Yeah, I know. It sucks, doesn't it? And you're going to feel, lots of things, and they're all to be embraced. So these spell grief. So G, give this time. R, respect the process. I, inhale the life around you. Make space. See, we get so production oriented that receptive part that really links us with our voice, with our own true path, our authenticity gets lost. So that could be, make space for feelings, make space to connect with your strength, for rest, for self-care. Then E, embrace change. Choose what's happening. We can resist or we can choose it.
It's happening anyways.
Exactly.
Whether we choose it or not. Yeah.
I remember people saying, well, do you want to go to school? I'm going to be, 65 by the time I get out. And I'm like, well, you're going to be 65 anyway. So do you want to be 65 with that thing or without it? And then F is just forge ahead. It's like once you give yourself space, then you can be in action with confidence and know that you're connected.
That's awesome. So powerful. It's, I keep checking in with myself, both with my with your natural health care, with the coaching company, in my relationships, everything. I keep checking in with myself, like, okay, is this the next thing? Is this the next thing? Is this right? Am I on the right path? But one of the things I often forget to do is to take that time to give myself space and embrace the feelings, whatever the feelings. I mean, you can even say in my reaction, the feelings.
I know.
Those messy things, I love that. And I love that the acronym GRIEF really works. So let's say I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
And what practice do you have for yourself personally, if you're willing to answer a personal question, so that you don't fail yourself? Is there something you do to make sure of that?
It's interesting. I think we all fail ourselves. I just think that's a part of life. There's this whole thing about failure and what is success. Success is the person who fails and fails and fails and never stays down, just keeps getting up. Yeah. So I think it's just a part of life, but it's our commitment to being at choice, to saying, yes, I have failed. I am disappointed with my results. I'm disappointed with what's happening right now. What I thought I was going to be doing in this stupid pandemic is like stopping me in my tracks. Yeah. But then to recalibrate, and so I think my practices are about empowering myself to recalibrate. And I'll put this again in this idea of active and receptive. So in terms of the active things, taking conscious action, being in touch with people I care about, joining groups where people really, it's like my people, my tribe, I get, these people get me. Yeah. And also engaging in creative activity. But I'll also say on the receptive side, it's this time and space piece, because that's where the real rich product comes from. It has to grow in the soil of nature, meditation, listening to music, not while multitasking, but actually sitting down and listening. Movement, sometimes if my energy is not right, I'll just put on Peter Gabriel and I'll get up and rock out, and it shifts the energy. And then the other thing that I would say that kind of sums it all up for me is a term I used before, which is clear witness. It is just in these days and times, and if I hear the word uncertain times one more time, I'm going to scream. But it's an absolute must for all of us to have somebody we can trust completely. Yeah. Not only to listen to us non-judgmentally, but also to reflect back who we really are. And this could be a therapist, a clergyman, it could be a coach. It's not likely to be a friend or a family member, maybe a friend, but people who have no agenda for you and no stake in how you respond. But this piece of clear witness for me in my life is absolutely crucial.
So awesome. I mean, I know that's part of the work that you do, that you provide for your customers too. So I wanted to, we have run short of time, but I wanted to say again how people can reach out to you and how they can find out more about your programs and what website and all that stuff.
Sure. So my website, wheelofcreativity.com, will really give you insight into my products and my programs and things. And KatherineRobertson.com really tells you more about me. And I'm happy for anybody to just shoot me an email at Katherine@KatherineRobertson.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being available. I mean, I know for me, I've got all sorts of rituals and practices, and I'm taking some of these practices and applying it, and of course, taking your CBD. Here's our special for those of you who are here listening and need some CBD spray. Holistic Wellbeing Interview Series special offer. So go to yournaturalhealthcare.com, put in the code HOLISTIC when you check out, and you'll get 20% off and free shipping. So yay. I want to thank you again so much, Katherine, for taking the
Mm.
time to do this, and for your wisdom, and for moving me and stirring my heart, and the tools that you make available, and the journey that you're on, and the difference it makes. Thank you for being that kind of human in the world.
Thank you, Rose. It's just been a pleasure to be here and talk with you. I've loved it.
You're the best.